Not too long ago, Americans discovered mentors. In general, a mentor helps a novice to enter a progress along a certain path toward a specific goal. In the academic world, a mentor guides a doctoral student through the requirements of earning a degree. In the business world, a mentor helps a promising person to achieve excellence, success, and often a high administrative position in a corporation. Now let's consider Jesus and his ancient circum-Mediterranean cultural world. Was Jesus a mentor? No. The historical Jesus was not a mentor or a teacher, but rather a shamanic folk healer who became a political religious faction founder, who built his coalition around his person by gathering followers. Generations later, these faction followers began to be remembered as disciples. Here is what Jesus, the faction founder, expects of members of his political religious faction, often called his disciples. Luke chapter 17, verses 5 through 10. The apostles said to the Lord, "Increase our loyalty." The Lord replied, "If you have loyalty the size of a mustard seed, you would say to this mulberry tree, 'Be uprooted and planted in the sea,' and it would obey you. Who among you would say to your servant, who has just come in from plowing or tending sheep in the field, 'Come here immediately and take your place at table'? Would he not rather say to him, 'Prepare something for me to eat. Put on your apron and wait on me while I eat and drink. You may eat and drink when I am finished'? Is he grateful to that servant because he did what was commanded? So should it be with you. When you have done all that you have been commanded, say, 'We are owed nothing servants. We have done what we were obliged to do.'" Increase our faith, the apostles say in the New American Bible. The word usually translated faith in the New Testament is better translated as loyalty or reliability, like in the Godfather movies. Faith is an idea bearing 2,000 years of Christian theological freight unknown to Jesus and his followers in the first century. When many Christians today read faith in their English Bibles, they think believe strongly or trust strongly. But that's not what Jesus and his followers are talking about here. Jesus, the founder of a political religious faction devoted to the renewal of first century Israel, demanded loyalty to himself and his project. Recall Jesus' expectation that, faced with a choice, a follower should prefer him to one's own family of origin. Luke chapter 17 opens with a warning from Jesus about shattering the loyalty of disciples. This warning is not as clear here in Luke as it is in the synoptic parallels of Mark chapter 9 verse 42 and Matthew chapter 18 verse 6. These verses speak explicitly about little ones who are loyal to me. Any disciple who breaks the loyalty of another disciple deserves to be destroyed, that is, weighed down with a millstone and cast into the sea. Destroyed, just like disloyal Carlo was destroyed in The Godfather. Terrified by Jesus' challenge, the apostles ask him to strengthen their Mediterranean Godfather-style loyalty or reliability. Increase our faith or add to our faith. Jesus replies that if they were even minimally loyal, if they even had the faith the size of a mustard seed, then the patron God of Israel would hear their prayer and do whatever they ask. The Mediterranean master of the insult, Jesus, has insulted his followers. He claims that their loyalty is weak. The connection with Godfather-style loyalty is clearly made in Mark's version of this incident. In Mark, the cursed fig tree serves as a prophetic symbolic action to underscore the central place of loyalty to God. The prophetic action is the cursing of the tree and its withering. The word clarifying the behavior is Jesus' answer in Mark 11, verse 22. Jesus underscores the answer with a word of honor, "Amen, I tell you," and explains why the fig tree withered. It withered because of Jesus' total loyalty to the God of Israel and his total lack of hesitation, translated, doubt in your heart, about what the God of Israel required of him. This is the meaning of having faith in the Bible, not believe, believe, believe. Jesus' lack of hesitation explains what he does in Galilee and Jerusalem, and why he formed his political religious faction, and the fate bound up with this activity, his suffering and death. If disciples are loyal to God, God will move the mountain or mulberry tree into the sea. And they will have visions and other altered states of consciousness experiences, casting out demons, healing the illness, stilling the storm demon, etc. Like faith, forgiveness has 2,000 years of theological freight. The historical Jesus and his followers, starving Galilean peasants, understood canceling debts, especially debts of honor. The words sin and forgive in Luke chapter 17 verses 3 through 4 remind Luke's readers of Jesus' parable of the lost sons, which, having been read or heard just 2 chapters earlier in this gospel, is still echoing in their minds and hearts. Disciples must be compassionate as the patron is compassionate. In the ancient Mediterranean, someone who sins against you, that is, dishonors you and your family, should be killed. The idea of Jesus is, cancel the honor debt. Their honor debt must be canceled, must be forgiven, as often as the sinner, the one who shames, repents. In the ancient Middle Eastern world, every family, even relatively poor ones, had at least one servant. The very poorest families gave some of their children to other families as servants to ensure that they would be fed. The master in this parable apparently has only one servant who both tends the fields and does the cooking. The thrust of the story is pretty clear and straightforward. Good servants do what they are told. A master never has to thank his servant for doing what was expected. Most translations cause confusion with their rendition of Jesus' final advice to disciples. When you have carried out all your orders, learn to say, "We are worthless servants. We have only done our duty." Worthless? Is that a correct English translation? Think for a moment that you are a master from an ancient circum-Mediterranean culture. You know servants. You have servants. Was an obedient and dutiful servant or slave really worthless? Or unprofitable? Or useless? Or good for nothing? Or unworthy? These are all bad translations, folks. Literally, the Greek adjective means without need. The Syriac New Testament translation, edited by Thomas of Harkel, Bishop of Hierapolis in Syria around the years 612 and 617 Common Era, rendered this adjective with an idiomatic phrase that means owed nothing. We are owed nothing servants. The New English Bible captures this sense in its rendition. We are servants and deserve no credit. Context biblical scholar John Pilch proposed a neologism, do nothing servant. Do, D-U-E, nothing. It reflects the pun-oriented sense of humor that Jesus exhibited in Aramaic on many occasions. While the servant clearly is not a do, D-O, nothing person, it is also clear that a servant is due, D-U-E, do nothing, for services rendered. Jesus' demands of forgiveness, loyalty, and the surrendering of an entitlement mentality still challenge his American disciples.